reconvened for several years. And at this point, I'm working on a resurgence of the Garlic and Onion Board to maintain consistent meetings in order to address the issues of non-collection of assessment fees, as well as to see where they'd like to go with allocating out that money in that account in order for research and promotion within the garlic and onion industry. I've reached out to both Jim Snyder and Bob Ean, who were previous board members, and Bob Ean is holding an allium symposium starting in February. I believe it's February 8th. I will be heading down to Tulare, California to attend that, and hopefully we can get some fire under some feet to have Bob Ean come back to Nevada and utilize his knowledge of the industry, which is pretty vast, to help the board reconvene, because I think he was a pretty proactive member. And then in speaking with Jim, he's definitely on board with coming back and reconvening the board, and hopefully we can get some positive momentum here relatively soon.
Good. That's great.
Absolutely.
Everybody,
Thanks for your work on
Yeah.
thank you, Jim.
Cool.
Great. All right. Anything else on that item? Okay, now to F.
Yeah. Thanks, Russ.
Absolutely.
Item F, we're requesting from the board to go to proceed to workshop and hearing related to regulations for aquaculture. Essentially what this is looking for is we already collect producer certificates on aquaculture when it comes to produce. We have a number of businesses that have either opened in Nevada or are trying to open who are doing aquaculture for commercial use. So this is people that are trying to grow shrimp in aquaculture down in downtown Las Vegas in big aquariums and things like that, or when they're using
Lobsters in Mina?
Ooh, I don't know if we want to go there.
That's Department of Wildlife.
Yeah. I think they feel it was us too.
Oh.
We have some other companies that are actually doing produce growing in aquaculture, but they're using fish to recirculate the nitrates and everything in the water, and they want to actually sell those fish as a product as well. And so what we're looking to do is do essentially a producer certificate for aquaculture when it comes to fish, or not really livestock in fish tanks, but in animal grade type things. And so we're looking to get a producer certificate for that. And so we're looking to go to workshop and hearing on that. So that's what we're asking for today is the
current producer certificate doesn't really fit.
Right.
So is
Mr. No.
Is the current certificate only then for plant material?
Correct.
Okay, so this would be a totally separate one. You wouldn't want to actually add it to the.
Right, and that would be one thing we'd be looking at. Most, but not all aquaculture would be in combination with doing both plants and fish and things like that. So it's either going to be, it'll be almost an identical form. I don't think it'll be on the same form, but it would be the same procedure and same costs associated with it and everything like that. So yes, but we'll line all that out once we go to workshop and hearing and figure out how we want to go about doing that.
This is not approving it, you're just approving us to go to workshop and hearing to look into it.
Any other questions? Anything from the public? Motion? Mr. No?
I move that we approve permit or give permission to proceed to workshop and hearings on regulations for agriculture.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. No made the motion. Mr. Perazzo made the second. Is there any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, Robert, do you have anything, more information on your update for the board?
Yeah, I'll expedite it. There's things that you guys can read through. There's just a couple quick ones that I wanted to touch upon. I wanted to properly introduce. Sorry, I know you.
I didn't say nothing, Robert.
I know. I wanted to properly introduce Megan Brown. Megan Brown is the new Plant Industry Deputy Administrator. Many of you probably already know Megan. If those who do not, Megan comes with us with a large background in range and public lands and policy. She spent a number of years as the executive director with Nevada Cattlemen's Association, and most recently was with Congressman Amadei's office, and we were very happy to have her. So we're very excited to have Megan on board, and as Jim mentioned, she will be in our Elko office doing many things, but mainly regarding to range land and public land policy type things, and then helping with the administration of the plant industry division as well. So very excited to have Megan on board. So
Yes.
All right. Welcome.
Great. And then just as soon as we can get her down here in Reno, yeah.
Settle down.
And it begins.
There's two other quick things that I wanted to touch upon. We are, for those of you who have worked with, and I know she presented to the board numerous times prior. Today is Jamie, was known as Greer, Jamie Abbott. Now, her last day with the Department of Agriculture. She is moving on. She's moving to Scottsdale, Arizona to pursue a new career there, and because her husband got a good job there as well. So if you see Jamie Abbott in the hallways, please wish her well. But with her departure, and also we have not filled Tina Mudd's position, which was our agriculturist 4 position, it kind of gives us the opportunity to kind of reevaluate both of those positions and look at the duties that both the noxious weed program and the rangeland program positions had. And so we're going to, Megan and I are going to be looking at those two positions, looking at all of the objectives that they had on those two positions, and kind of reevaluating, maybe moving some stuff around. We are going to be moving the rangeland position to the Elko office because we feel that's where it is most needed. And they'll be working directly under Megan up there for the rangeland program, and be hopefully getting out and making more, kind of house calls to a lot of ranches and things, and out there and working, arm in arm with a lot of the ranchers that we have here in Nevada. And then we'll be looking at some of the duties that the noxious weed person had as well. So just wanted to touch upon that. And I don't need to go through all of this. One of the big things that plant industry has been doing, and I really wanted to touch upon, one of the things that was asked that we give a kind of an update on was that, let me find it here, through collaborative work between Jeff Knight and Chuck Moses, the NDA Pollinator Protection Plan has been developed, has been finally completely developed. This was presented at the board back in September, and we've looked to be implementing this this spring. And so the purpose of this was to encourage timely communication and coordination amongst key stakeholders, including beekeepers, growers, and pesticide applicators and landowners. So to know when pesticide applicators are going to be actually doing sprays, to let beekeepers in the area know if they have to cover their bees, or if they don't want to move their bees or things like that. So we're not seeing colony kill-offs and things like that. One or two of the other things I wanted to touch on really quick. Jeff Knight's crew, our entomologist, the Mediterranean pine engraver, which is like a bark beetle, was positively identified from 2 locations in southern Nevada. This was kind of in Blue Diamond and also northern Las Vegas. This is really a new invasive species to the U.S. It only occurs in one other state, and that's in California. And so this is the first time it's actually escaped California and made it elsewhere. We've got it here in Nevada. It's mainly attacks weakened trees, but we've been through a drought in the last couple of years, and so that could be a serious problem. But it will attract. It is attractive to healthy trees as well. Jeff Knight is working with the Forest Service right now to kind of determine what the pathway was into Nevada. This is another reason why we're looking at those AEO officers being cross-trained. This could have been, a firewood introduction into Nevada from another state or something else. So we're not exactly sure how this got in, but we're going to be looking at that, delineating the area to see how big the infestations are in southern Nevada at this time. And that was kind of a big thing that happens in the last since the last update. And the other thing I want to touch on is that, one of the things we were going to talk about is the chemistry lab has been developing methods for testing pesticide residues and medical marijuana samples, and is receiving samples for analysis from the Department of Public and Behavioral Health. We hope to be receiving more of those samples as that program starts growing and there are more cultivators coming online. We anticipate once they really start having some bug problems this summer, we're going to be getting all sorts of samples coming into the department, so we'll see how that goes. Dale touched upon industrial hemp. One of the things I just want to mention about that, and I think the director will be talking to you guys a little bit later, we finally got all of our proposed regulations back from LCB last week. So we can now go to the hearing on that one, and that hearing is going to be scheduled for February 22nd. Right after that hearing, we may be asking, the director may be asking to have a special session of our board to adopt those regulations so we can get that program in place so we can get programs started this spring before we miss the growing season. So we'll be looking for that, and I don't know if you want to say something about Jim.
So you're aware, basically what we would do is put up a video conference meeting, and you could either call in on phone or you could go to one of the locations. We wouldn't be asking you all to come to Sparks for this, and it would be a very short, very specific agenda to move on the hemp regs so that we're not holding those up. And we haven't been. They were submitted in September, and we basically just got them back this weekend. So that those that would want to license and register to do experimental work in hemp production in the state of Nevada would then have the opportunity to per NRS statute, because otherwise, if we go much later than that, we're going to miss the opportunity to get the seed here in time to be able to then have any kind of
So your goal is
research.
just toward research production as opposed to just full scale?
Yes,
Commercial
per the allowance of hemp production in the United States, per the Farm Bill, which the bill in Nevada was a direct reproduction of the Farm Bill language. It is for research purposes in conjunction with either and the university or the Department of Agriculture.
But those research projects can include, marketing the products that they make and things like that, and seeing if there's an economic, development for that here in Nevada, and to see if it would be a sustainable industry for Nevada too. So they will. We have a large interest in a lot of people that actually do want to start growing industrial hemp here in Nevada. A lot of real serious people that are really trying to do it here, and they've been following these regulations very closely. And they're really, hoping that we can get this up and going and they can start growing this season. So hopefully, this could, be another industry for Nevada. One of the big things that we're going to be looking at that we're going to be asking when they submit their research plans is we want to know really how much water it's going to be taking to grow industrial hemp in Nevada as opposed to alfalfa or something like that, to see if it would be, an industry that could thrive in Nevada. So.
That is a component of like sisal baling twine and stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't that the foundation?
On some baling twine, quite a few baling twine they use hemp. I don't know, a lot of it we use polyurethane, plastic baling twines, but there
If
are.
you're using a sisal twine, it's probably hemp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and all the products.
Yeah, you're talking research through the completion of the market, everything from rope to
Hemp
the
cream.
seed, the oil, I think you can go down to Whole Foods and buy like 4 different versions of the product.
A lot of beauty products, oils, creams, and things like that too. So there's a big market for a lot of it. It just
Supposedly it regenerates hair. So partaking in that adventure.
And then the only other key point that I topic that I want to talk about really quick was just kind of show the success of as we're moving to these online systems and making all of our processes more online. This was the second year that we had our pesticide registration online, and so that registration opened about the middle of October and closed December 31st. At the date that it closed, we had 95% of our registrants successfully had registered all their products online. So that took roughly 2.5 months to register it. Previously, when we did this all via mail and paper forms and everything else, and updating and hand entering all the database and everything, this was a 6-month process. And we spent another couple months just tracking down all the people that didn't get in within the time period, and assessing the fines on late registration and things like that. So this just goes to show how good this moving towards this online registration system will help a lot of our programs. And in addition to that, because we were able to, put that online and put a lot of the work necessary basically off onto some of the registrants, and it makes it a lot easier for them too, we were able to actually consolidate the 2 positions that we had, administrative assistants too, down to 1 position and save some resources there as well. So a win-win for the department all around on the online registration system. So there's some other things in there, but you guys have these updates. If there's anything else, or if you guys see something you'd like some information on, I'd be happy to answer it, or have any questions, anything else plant industry oriented.
Any questions for Robert? Robert, that was a great presentation today. Thank you.
Much better than last time.
Well done. Thank you. Oh, you can't believe how much better than last time.
A rough crowd.
Yeah. Spicy today.
Brutal, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you take that wrong? No, I was just talking to the staff earlier. I'm enjoying your reports from plant industry.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? We have lunch here. What are we having?
Prior to lunch, if we can get our quick exercise in, we'll take a quick walk out to Weights and Measures and take a brief 5-minute max walk through to see all the
Doesn't
new
take that long to
calibration
get there.
equipment. Well, the walkthrough will only be 5 minutes. So we'll be in it for 10 minutes, and that'll get your legs up and moving. Then we'll come back and we'll have lunch ready for you
And
in the
then-
break room.
Ramona, you need your photo taken. And Jim, did you bring your, okay, then that makes it easy. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we're on break.
Dave, you
Yeah.
can pop out here, we'll see if Kathy is here, and she can do this for you, and then you'll.
No, Pine.
We're recording? Okay, we're back on the record, back from lunch. And
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Spratling.
just as a information on the background on the handout that the director just passed out, it's directed to the district manager and the Elko BLM, because that's who they were kind of fighting back and forth with on this fence issue. But the real discussion is between NDOT, NDOW, and agriculture.
And this will be attached to Flint's update, and so it'll be entered into the record, and so anybody that wants to see it will be able to basically go on the website, look at Flint's update, and this will be posted on the website.
All right, thank you very much. We're back on the record, and real quick, gang, I had an email just before we broke, and I just wanted to pass on the Division of Water Resources sent out an email basically saying that they will be checking wells for the month of February into March. So they do have a link that you can go to and see the measurements. If anybody's interested in that link, let me know. But what did they say? I'm sorry. Mid-February into, middle of February into March. So,
You mean like your irrigation wells and stuff?
yeah.
You should be doing it in
Domestic
September.
wells? Water wells and stuff?
That's when our
Or just
sprinkles
just
are.
irrigation?
It's not that specific, Pete. But Boyd, in answer to your question, I think they did a lot during the season. So now they're getting a comparative. With
And we're off topic, but as far as surface water guys, the guys get water from streams and springs and that sort of thing. There's a concern out there in the state of Nevada that the volume of underground pumping has made a distinct difference in the runoff in the Humboldt River, in particular Humboldt watershed. So that's where that's all coming from.
yeah, there's several lawsuits going on right now with water issues.
That's going to get uglier.
That's going to get ugly, including the one with the stockwater issue in the Argenta area that we're involved with. The Rand Filippini issue.
Oh,
That just went to the Supreme Court. Consumer equitability, is that correct? Item 7A. Go ahead, Bart.
Good afternoon. I'm going to make this slothfully fast. So we have Bardo Tool, Administrator of Consumer Equitability for the record. So we have 2 items that we would like to send to the board for approval on NAC changes, and the third one, C, is not applicable at this time. So we'll start with R9415 and 9415. My glasses off. For the most part, it's all these proposals are going to be editorial, updating existing prices for the purchase of reference standards, ASTM, with the exception of 590050, and that eliminates the need for service stations or fuel retailers to put the ultra low sulfur designation on their pumps. There's no more no more high sulfur fuels out there, with the exception of marine and locomotive. So FTC has removed that, and we're gonna we need to update our language to follow suit with the FTC. The other one is 590065, is areas that the ASTM has taken over, and those things have timed out there. We're timed out at about 2012. We're just updating that with new information. So, and then the item of 590015, that's there mistakenly, and that we don't need to approve that. So for 09515, any questions? And then can I give some suggestion? Wording on the motion would be to approve LCD file 09415 with the exception of 590.015, because that one is not applicable at this time.
Okay, any questions for Mr. O'Toole? Any public comment?
Want to make sure, Bart, as I recall, there weren't any concerns or there was no opposition to these if any of the workshops or hearings that I can recall.
No, Bill had was Chevron coming in favor of. So right. That was the only thing we had.
And actually the ones that I was in, everyone that was present was in favor of them as well. So
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
I would motion that we approve adopt the language from the workshop and hearing for LCB R094-15, but taking out the last section here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
NAC 590 sections 010 to 035.
Well, there's only one. Yeah, that would work. But there's only one section there, 015, that's actually addressed in this 94.
Is that okay on the
excluding word? Section 015?
Yeah.
Excluding 015.
Okay.
Second.
There's a second. Mr. Anderson made the motion. Mr. No is the second. Any more discussion? Public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, then say nay. Abstention, motion carries unanimous.
Next item is R107-15, and again, most of it is cosmetic, except for 590-059, and 590-0959 is to align the state of Nevada with ASTM standards on 85 octane. Right now, we do not adopt Handbook 133 portion of motor fuels, which I'm working on remedying that. But in that handbook, ASTM has a chart, and that chart has where 85 octane can be sold, and it's mounted to areas. In Nevada, that is east of the 117th longitude and north of the 38th parallel, which is about Tonopah, Battle Mountain east, can sell 85 octane. The reason that we would like to, part of the reasons that we would like to update that is there are retailers in this area and a few down in Las Vegas that sell 85 octane, and they can legally advertise that as regular. So we've had mostly complaints from other fuel retailers going, I can't compete with these these retailers who are selling 85 and advertising it as regular. So the way ASTM has it is you can sell 85 in the mountainous areas as long as it's alone at the station. So you can't have 85 octane regular and 87 octane regular. Any questions there?
Yeah, I got a processor in Fallon, and she wants us to bring beef that weigh 800 pounds and they're fat. Can't do it. I tell her, why don't you tell these people? You know, you want a good product, but you don't want it. So I have voiced this before. I have a real problem with it, but I want Paul to help out with this. But I mean, cars aren't recommended to run on 85, so I'm like on the other side of it. Are we going to see a decrease in your premiums, in your mid grades?
A decrease in
the use of them?
Well, we're already selling the 85 octane in this area, and you're right. But I think what you see is the misleading advertisement. But they're not breaking the law. You can go out on I-80 east if you're about 12 miles. You can see the sign that says regular for 217 or something to that effect. If you go to the pump, that regular is 85 octane, which is probably not recommended for many vehicles. It's in anybody's vehicles in this room. However, not a lot of consumers are reading their gas tank and saying, hey, I need 87 minimum or 80 or generally 91. Yeah. And so they think they're getting a smoking deal on regular gas, but they're getting a substandard gasoline in that.
But isn't Maverick in Utah, aren't they they're still showing 3 grades, and the highest is an 89.
And now Utah's in that mountainous area, so they could do 80, 85, 87, 89.
3 grades, 85, 87, and 91.
Oh, did they jump clear up? Okay.
So, I mean, really what it is it's, in this case, it's just leaving the northeastern part of the state alone to where they can still continue to run the 85 octane, which a lot of the fuel coming out of Idaho and Utah in that area is an 85 octane. Over here, there were actually 2 things that brought this about. The first were there were consumer complaints talking about performance issues, which I truly believe could happen by dropping the octane a couple points. So that's one. And then the other was you had retailers that were competing against someone across the street that's calling it regular, but it's an 85 octane when my regular is an 87 octane. So with those 2 things, that was really what brought this about. I was involved in the workshops and hearings, and I thought that the retailer in this region that sells that product would represent themselves and be a part of it. Nothing in writing, they didn't show up to any of the meetings or anything, which surprised me because I thought we would get to hear from their side on why we should keep it. So everything that was said from the large manufacturer or the large producers like the Chevrons and those guys, all the way down to the locals, everyone was in agreement with this change. So
I understand. It's just hard. We've lost the value where value is anymore, and it's pretty much about whatever's cheaper.
So this will again take effect. It would be in the northwestern portion.
Right. Again, probably east of Battle Mountain, north of Tonopah.
Correct. Northeastern portion that would still be allowed to run the 85.
And they are in the ASTM area 5 and 6 already, which is the mountainous area.
Right.
They're the portions of Nevada. So it does align us with the ASTM guidelines.
Inclusive of Tonopah?
Inclusive of Tonopah.
Did you say that there was 85% being sold in the south?
Yeah, I'm not up on the stations, but there are a few that you can buy 85. And don't mistake 85 with E85. We're talking 85 octane.
So what, they would still be allowed to sell that down there?
No.
Okay.
They would have to bump that to only, I could give you a Tonopah, Ely, Elko, Battle Mountain would be the major places that
So
could
this
sell.
would eliminate them being able to sell 85 octane solid.
That's correct.
Seems to be colder climates.
Yeah.
Is it a temperature issue too?
Yeah.
Yeah. In a colder climate, you can get away with it. Less volatile. Am I doing it right? Less volatile.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion that we adopt the language from the workshop and hearing for NAC 590.059.
Can we do this?
R1 would appreciate, yeah, R107-15.
Is there a second? Second. Wait a minute. I saw it. Mr. Nakaguchi was first.
Just for the heck of it.
Did I say it right? Yeah. Mr. Anderson made the motion. Mr. Nakaguchi is the second. Any discussion? Anything from the public? Hearing none, all in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Abstentions? Motion carries unanimous. Item C has been removed from the agenda.
Yes.
So your board update.
I'm gonna ask to be as brief as you can, hit the highlights, because they've got it in writing, because we're gonna try to tour the food warehouse after we get done with the meeting.
So we achieved reaccreditation of the metrology lab in December after about a 1.5-year process. One of the things in there in Metrology World is a succession plan for your state metrologist, and in conjunction with that, we've been working about a year to reclassify that into a 3-tier system. We now have a metrologist 3, 2, and 1, being the state metrologist of the 3, journeyman, and then an apprentice. Mary and James are in those positions, and we just picked up Jerome. We will elevate him to a metrologist 1 position as soon as he passes his fundamentals of metrology. We talked about the 3 new mass comparators when you were over there. Elko weights and measures inspectors is kind of gnawing. It's kind of been a toothache for the last year, trying to get someone into that Elko position. Joan will be retiring in the spring, but fortunately in late December, Gary Moore, who had been a weights and measures inspector in the Elko area for 2 years previous, came back to us, so we're feeling pretty confident about weights and measures inspectors and the succession plan there in Elko. Livestock scales were completed with few hiccups, and I moved that to the right to better accommodate the times of sales and the weather in northeastern Nevada. Doing the scales in March and April, I shook my head at. Now we start things in May and moving through June, and that's better for us and for the producers. We've had a lot. We're fielding a lot more complaints, mainly due to the availability or the access to on the internet and the QR codes on the sticker. So we're seeing a lot more complaints, and we're actually putting a lot of it is due to fuel prices, and we don't regulate fuel prices, and that's a hard one to get past. Training is one of the big things that coming into this position about a 1.5 years. There hadn't been any formal training for weights and measures inspectors that I've seen anywhere in the past. So I'm trying to get back to some formal training, because with A training, B training, C training, D, you start building a computer and end up with a telephone. So what I've got there, and we've got NIST coming in. NIST will provide training. We've got Handbook 133 training going on this year. I've also sent 2 of the inspectors to train the trainer. So in conjunction with NIST coming in to train the inspectors, one of the inspectors will take the class ahead of time and we'll teach the class, and we'll have our first NIST certified trainer, and hope to progress that year by year with NIST training annually. Any questions for me? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bart.
Just the crickets. All right. Next is food and nutrition, and it looks like 8A, and we do it's information only. So, Katrina and Amber.
You can just kind of look and pass around. Amber Smyer, Ag Literacy Coordinator.
And I'm Katrina Peters, School Nutrition Services Manager.
So this afternoon we wanted to give you an update of a couple of food and nutrition programs that are impacting and connecting with our producers and consumers. And the first is the new school meal pattern. The federal money came down that allowed the division to do some implementation, promotion, and education, and so they reached out to me to collaborate on a piece where we could educate some of our youngest consumers. So what you're looking at now are samples of the activity sheets that we created around the food groups on their new school meal pattern. So we took each of the divisions, vegetables, fruits, milk, meat, and meat alternatives, and grains, and developed one activity sheet for each. These are geared towards 3rd through 5th graders. They were developed with the idea that we would educate them about nutrition, about the food groups and key facts and information that they need to know, and then also a connection to agriculture, so we can highlight the diversity of Nevada agriculture and highlight our companies and businesses here as well. And then finally, a career piece, so that we could encourage students to consider careers in agriculture. So that was our goal. These are currently being implemented through teacher trainings, through community events that we are attending, and they'll soon be available for people to solicit on our website. So we're excited about this program and the opportunity it has to highlight our companies and diversity in agriculture, and most importantly, educate our youth. So that's one piece of the school meal pattern.
We also, with the Food Nutrition Division, have been able to collaborate with our marketing and communication folks. And they've really helped us in getting the word out about our programs, letting folks know that school meals are healthy, that they're available, and encouraging folks to participate. So we've done some targeted media pitches. You can see a screenshot of one of those. We've gone out and done some media interviews. And we've also developed some commercials. So I think we're going to be able to show...
Nevada School Meals help students succeed in what they enjoy doing.
What's that?
School meals are now healthier than ever, getting more important nutrients so students are ready for their day. New vegetable options provide vitamins, making it easier to focus in class. Lean proteins and milk help your child excel in their favorite sport. Whole grains and fruits give students the energy to do the activities they love most. Try Nevada School Meal today.
Yeah, so we were able to utilize federal funds, contracted with an outside company that can add the production value and really get those positive messages out around our programs. We've also, with those ads, we're targeting folks towards a website that our marketing and communication folks developed. And this website really has the messages that are specific for consumers. So we develop a lot of resources and do a lot of trainings that are for folks that are preparing and serving those meals. We've developed a website that is messages and resources really tailored for the public. I also wanted to talk briefly about Farm to School. So this is one area where we started a collaboration when I was in the Office of Child Nutrition before I moved over here with Danelle's group. And Ashley Jepson, who's over in plant industry, reached out. And we started a collaboration at that point that's just become more stronger now that we're nested here under the Department of Agriculture together. So when we're talking about Farm to School, we usually sort of think about 3 main areas: school gardens, procurement, so purchasing those local foods to serve in the cafeteria, and then also education efforts. So we've been so lucky to have Amber involved in those, going out to schools and really providing that ag education piece. But specific to school gardens, we saw a real need to develop the food safety piece. So one of the main barriers with school gardens before we kind of embarked on developing some of the resources, health folks didn't want kids to actually eat the food that they were growing in the school garden, which is, of course, the whole point of growing food, so we can actually eat it. So we worked on that food safety element to develop an inspection and a checklist so school garden folks know what rules they have to follow so kids can actually eat the food. We also have done some work around procurement. And in working with our school food service folks, what we hear is that they want to purchase local products, but they don't necessarily know who grows it and where it's available, seasons, amounts. We developed a resource that I'm going to talk about in the next slide, but this picture did highlight one of the successes we had, getting zucchini that was grown out in Yerington served in all the Washoe County School District elementary schools for, I think, 2 days. On the next slide, we also had a great success this fall, some cherry tomatoes that were grown out in Latin Farms in Fallon, and some sweet bell peppers that were grown at Desert Farming Initiative at UNR, were served in the fresh fruit and vegetable program at Washoe County School District. So we still sort of struggle with quantity-wise here in Nevada and think about the quantity needed for school meals, but we are starting to have some success in getting those local products in our programs. So one of the resources that we developed to try to help get the information to our school food service directors on what foods are available is last year we did what we called a farm to school producer survey. And we got a hold of pretty much every email address we could for a producer in Nevada and asked them what products they grow, how much, and when they're available. We got over 100 responses, and we crafted that into a report that sort of details that information. And then on the next slide, we also, with the help of one of our IT folks, put that into a Google Maps format, so you can zoom in near where you are and see what farmers are growing, what products, and how much near you. And we hope that this will really build that gap between school food service and our producers to bring those two folks together and get some local products and school meals. I think that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
First thing I'd like to point out for all you poultry guys that sit on the board, it's the first thing you notice when you open it up, so yay to you guys.
I was looking for lamb chops.
Yeah, and how does Pete Paris get in here so much? Huh? Don't act coy. Pete Paris.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Oh, no, there's a great article here with your name.
Oh.
You're even in the crossword puzzle. Cranky old guys that came from Europe. The gray sheep. It's number 5. It's number 5 across.
And actually, I'm sorry, Danelle asked me to talk about SB 503 really briefly too. So as I think just about everybody knows, in June of this past year, SB 503 was passed, which mandated that all schools with 70% or greater free or reduced lunch eligibility serve breakfast after the start of the school day. So we were also given $2 million over the biennium for startup funds for that program for those eligible schools. And we've already sort of seen some immediate successes. We've served a little over 750,000 more breakfasts than last year in September and October alone. In those 2 months, we also brought in an additional $1.5 million in federal funds to our state. We've seen breakfast participation increase by a little over 20% at those participating schools. So it's really just started, but we've already seen sort of some huge gains and really substantial accomplishments. All right, now I'm done.
I just wanted to thank you guys for all your hard work and getting these put together and having something that actually is a Nevada product that we can use in the school systems. That's good stuff. Appreciate the hard work, all of you.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
I,
Brian.
you know, yeah, never mind the last name. The last time we toured the school cafeteria with Donnell, the guy was talking about the problems with principals bringing in outside food and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still an ongoing issue with you guys, or
Yeah.
something been done about it?
County Charles Anderson.
Sure. So since then, we passed a Nevada school wellness policy in July of 2014, which is a pretty progressive school wellness policy looking at the national picture. And that puts certain requirements on all foods that are sold or given away in the school environment. So previously, there were some nutritional requirements around food sold, and we sort of expanded that to sold or given away. And we've also done a lot of outreach and training with folks to make sure everyone understands. We're not saying you can't sell food in schools, but if you're going to sell foods, you have to meet these requirements so everybody's on the same playing field. And there's definitely some challenges in the area, and we'll continue to do work on it, but we've I think, been happy with the progress we've seen in limiting those things.
So no more Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, or?
You can serve
There's
pizza
still-
Hut or
there's
Taco
still
Bell, but it has to
bringing
meet the saturated fat requirement.
So there used to be a drug problem. Now there's an M&M out of the backpack. Dealership problem going on.
So we're legalizing marijuana.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, you guys, we got all messed up when I filled in the Basque portion of the crossword puzzle. B-A-S-K-E doesn't work.
Good job.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we're asking for adoption of language from workshop and hearing for R088-15 for regulations necessary to license Kraft Foods, which was underneath Senate Bill 441, also known as the Pickle Bill. So it is to allow folks to be able to pickle products that they would be able to sell at craft fairs or at farmers markets. And so we have worked with that group of folks who are interested in doing that. We're going to use course material from Kentucky. They'll come in and take that course. They'll be licensed for 3 years. It's a $50 fee. If they want to use a recipe that's not been approved by USDA, then they can go to a processing authority who would then approve their recipe so that folks who are eating that pickled product would not get botulism, because we would not want that to happen. So they have to also turn in their recipe with us. They have to buy, we're in the regulations, it requires a certain pH meter to be able to measure the pH to make sure that that's correct. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell.
We're in a mason jar.
They're a mason jar.
So what was the result of the workshops and hearings? I mean,
There was no one who came to them.
no one came to them?
No one came to them. Mr. Hetrick had done a wonderful job in working with all those folks prior to the law going through. So we were all, I would say that he was on the same page with those folks as the law went through and worked with us as we were working on the regulations. So no one came for either the workshop or the hearing.
So there was cooperation from local health district, state health district, all were involved in the conversation at the ledge site.
And no opposition.
No opposition.
And if you can say that about Clark County Health, you can say something.
Yes,
Motion?
yeah, you betcha. Go
I
ahead.
guess since I'm about the only one on this board, I suspect who's ever pickled.
Hey, we've been pickled, just never.
Yeah. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. I want to adopt, that's a 8.
Liver or cucumber?
Both.
Start with the R number.
Okay. I move that we adopt language from the workshop and hearing for Chapter 583 on RO88-15.
Second.
No, you can hold out mine, Ramona. You're at 8B, you're RO88. Oh, never mind.
No, sorry.
I'm almost wrong. I apologize.
Just reading backwards.
I was reading backwards. So,
Okay, motion's been made. Mr. Morrison made the motion, seconded by Mr. Anderson. Any more discussion? Any public input? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimous. The second was Mr. Anderson. And we're going to have a board update from Donnell. Go ahead.
Very quickly, the main highlights I'd like to point out, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions, is that we have hired a new deputy administrator for the Food Nutrition Division. It's Pat Hoppy. She'll be joining us on February the 1st. She comes from the Department of Human Resources, has about 11 years of experience with the state, and is currently the manager for the Certified Public Managers Program, and Director Barbie is a graduate of that program. So she has strong management, budget, organizational skills, which I think will be very beneficial for our division as we're trying to figure out what our organizational structure looks like and doing some planning that way. And in addition to that, we lost about 58 years of experience in the last 2 weeks. We had 2 employees, one with 36 years experience with the state and another one with 22 years of experience with the state that retired. So both of those folks were with our Commodity Foods program. So we are kind of cobbling things together right now to continue to serve folks with those programs. And when Pat comes on, one of the things we want to do is look at those 2 positions and see how we can rework those positions to better be able to serve the folks that we serve.
Pat will also be the lead administrator in the Las Vegas office and basically the face for NDA in Las Vegas.
And And the only, we're still doing our dairy inspections and our processors, so all of those things are still moving along. We saw an increase in summer food by about 5.5% over the previous year, had about over 591,000 meals served during the summer. So that's kind of just a brief overview, unless you have any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Donnell.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna.
You'll get more questions for her when we get over to the warehouse.
Okay, animal industry. Item A, we're going to adopt language from workshop and hearing to adopt the Association of American Feed Control Officials model bill for the implementation of Food Security Modernization Act, FSMA, as required by SB 488, as amendments of NAC Chapter 587. Mr. Wright.
Yes, this is pretty much like the other ones. Some of you might be a little more familiar with this. I actually would tell you don't hit the link there. It'll take you to the actual bill. The actual language for the NAC change is being passed around by Director Barbie. It follows the bill exactly, and we brought this, of course, to you back in September. It's now been through workshop and hearing. What you see before you is the actual regulation change. It was signed into law in the last session. Basically, it is the charging of a licensor fee to feed manufacturers who are commercially selling feed in the state of Nevada. It's a $75 fee and are 15 cents a ton for all those who are distributing feed in the state of Nevada. This does come to us as basically a mandatory through FSMA, which is a federal law passed down for the traceability of feed sources in the state of Nevada.
Flynn, did you say 15 cents a ton?
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow. That's a healthy feed.
15 cents a ton.
Yeah.
15 cents per ton.
Yeah. To do what?
That's for the licensure fee and basically for anything that will be guaranteed to the state under the license.
And they'll have to eventually fund positions that will go out and do the inspection so that they can continue to operate. Because you'll have to be inspected as the rules are rolled in.
It's really not, David. We've done a small poll of people that are actually producing it. We're talking about $5 or $6.
Oh, $3.75 a truckload.
Yeah.
Still gets you ice cream cone somewhere. Go ahead.
But diesel's so much cheaper.
Yeah, diesel's so. Yeah, the cow prices are down.
Just trying to help you feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
So we're asking for a motion so we can adopt this language and continue on with the licensing of the feed products.
Any questions, Mr. Sprouling?
Was this debate, or I might be off base, which is not uncommon, but custom mixes would also be in the same thing?
When you're talking about custom mixes, if they're doing it for a particular customer, no. So like some of the stuff that like John Neff does won't fall under. It's when you're commercially selling those products, to just the mass public. That's where it applies.
So if it's something that's been a ration that has been, or a feed supplement that has been prescribed by a nutritionist and it's custom mixed, a meal going to an individual consumer or an individual producer,
yeah,
there will be none of this will apply to that.
Nope, doesn't apply to custom feeders.
Okay.
So no, it's only essentially commercial feeds. I mean, you actually, what I mean is you actually slap a label on it, and you're selling it to whoever wishes to buy it, type thing.
Is this going to apply to dog foods and everything else?
Yes, it is. Applies to dog foods and pet foods.
15 cents a tin.
I'm just telling you. There's a lot of small dog food companies out there right now making all these special, holistic,
organic,
yeah,
Organic horse meat.
huh?
Non-GMO.
Well, you shouldn't be feeding your dog grain anyways. Come on, sweet potatoes and
Carrots.
Lamb.
Is that on the hoof?
That's my one support for Pete Paris. Sadie gets lamb meal dog food.
So if you have any questions on that, that's pretty much all it really is. So it's just a licensing fee that passed in the legislature in this past session.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sprouling.
In regards to agenda item 9A, that we adopt language from the workshop and hearing to adopt the Association of American Feed Control Officials model bill for the implementation of Food Security Modernization Act as required by SB 488 as amendments to the NAC Chapter 587. I move that we
R10.
Oh, excuse me, with LCB number R100-15 be adopted by this board.
Was there a second?
Second.
Mr. Perazzo got the second. By a nose for Mr. No. The motion was made by Mr. Spratling. Is there any more discussion? Anything from the public? Audrey Spratling, you're the only public left. Will you be speaking on any other future items? All right. We'll dispense of public input.
Her son's a nutritionist. You know, she did have
Boyd asked the question I was going to ask. I was thinking about Blake.
Good. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimous. B.
Okay, so this came to us, it was kind of fortuitous, actually. We started back in last summer. I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but we've had a pretty nasty strain of avian influenza massively hit our poultry flocks in the Midwest. APHIS has destroyed 48 million birds out there, and now they have a new site area in Indiana that's going to affect even more birds. We don't know exactly what the ramifications that are yet. We just know where the locations and the number of birds, and it looks like we're looking at another few million birds. We don't have a large poultry industry in the state of Nevada as far as any scale, but at the same time, we do want to do our due diligence to those producers out there that are small, and so we're looked at into possibility of doing inspections. Dr. Rink and everybody said, well, we've tried to go down this road before with Newcastle and things like that, and we never got very far. A gentleman named Dennis Stuckey came to us from Las Vegas. He's already tied into the bird organizations down there in that area. He's a former Marine, retired Army, and he said that he would be willing to get trained to do the inspections if we could pay for his training. We said, and we had the money under the umbrella agreement to do that. He said, absolutely. He says, but we said, well, you're not just going to do this for free, are you? He says, no, I do need something. I need to get my time and my mileage back for when I go and do these inspections. So what we're requesting right here is that we can charge a nominal fee, his time and mileage. He'll be working under manpower, about $12 an hour, and then whatever the going reimbursement for mileage is, which is 54 cents a mile. It is completely voluntary. If there is a poultry producer who does not wish to enter into the program, the National Poultry Improvement Program, they don't have to, and they therefore don't have to pay the fee. So it's really just about covering the expenses of the inspection, and it's completely voluntary for those folks. But the gentleman, Dennis Stuckey, has explained to us that through his connections with the poultry associations there, he's had a considerable amount of interest by those producers to enter into this program. It would give us a considerably larger amount of inspection and producers that are involved in the program than we've ever had in the past. And we really hope that hopefully over time we can build this program into where all of those poultry producers in the state are working through this National Poultry Improvement Program. I think a lot of it has come because of the media attention that surrounded the incident in the Midwest, and people understanding now that this can have massive consequences on your farm or ranch if you're not really paying close attention. So basically, we're asking the board here. We have actually the mechanism for charging those fees is simply going to be done through the Animal Disease Lab. We just need the authority from the board that we can do that.
Any questions for Flint? Yes, Mrs. Morrison.
You need a motion?
No questions, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
I move that we give permission to charge time and mileage as a nominal fee to cover the cost of the poultry bird flock inspections.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Mrs. Morrison, the motion. The second, Mr. Snyder. Any discussion? Any input from the public? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimous. Board update. Go ahead, Flint.
Okay, I'm going to be really brief. Director Barbie's already talked about quite a bit of this stuff. And I know that you guys have been sitting here for a long time and you want to go do the second portion of the tour. A lot of moving parts happening in livestock.
Oh, by the way, Flint, before you move on, Mr. Stuckey?
Yes.
Is that his name?
Dennis Stuckey.
Dennis, we will not mention outside of this room that you probably insulted him on his military background. You said a former Marine out of the Army.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, that's just a slip up. I didn't mean any
By
disrespect.
the way, which one is he?
He's a former Marine.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Former Marine, sorry.
All right.
It's just yeah, it didn't say Navy either. That got me worse. But
That isn't it.
yeah,
Actually, Marines are part of the Navy.
yeah, that's fair. But they don't necessarily get along very well. Trust me, I have a father-in-law that's Navy and one's his brother's Marine, and they don't get along sometimes. But anyway, a lot of moving parts in the livestock division. We are making some changes. It is necessary for us to do that at this point in time. We are getting that bump from the renewal brands out there. It's not that we're broke currently. We have plenty of money currently. It's that there is a hole out there in 18 and 19, and we've got to do some things to alleviate some of those expenses so that we can keep that account viable. That I think we believe with the movement of some of those positions and sharing some of the costs of building an Elko, I think we can manage that account up and it will be viable, further into the future. But you got to do those changes now when you're flush with cash, or otherwise you'll never catch up to them in the other years when we don't have those bumps from the renewing of brands. So those are the definite reasons why we're making some pretty hefty changes in the livestock ID accounts. Probably the greatest piece of news that I can tell you is that we have hired a new state veterinarian. We did offer this position to Dr. Michael Greenlee, and by no means is this any kind of a indication of a low performance by Dr. Greenlee. Absolutely not. We've been very happy with his performance here as a state veterinarian. We offered that position to him in Elko. He turned us down, and I understand why. He just kind of got here from Texas, so he didn't exactly want to move to Elko. So that's how we handle it. Our new state veterinarian, as some of you in the room already know, will be Dr. J.J. Goycochea out of Eureka. So he's accepted, and he begins February 16th of this year. So he will be working out of the Elko office. And we are going to be getting that lab up and running in the coming months so that we are bringing in revenue there instead of it. The thing it is, and Jim agrees with me on this, and I agree with him, and it just sits there. We pay for that. And all of you in here, we pay for that lab, and it does nothing. It doesn't bring in anything. It's dead weight. And so with it not running, it's been a cost that you can't, attach any revenue to. So that's the entire idea of putting the state veterinarian position there with vet tech so that we can run lab diagnostics and tests there and bring in revenue.
Keep those samples in the state, not going to Idaho and Utah.
Right. With that, I'll open up if you guys have any questions for me, something maybe I didn't touch on you want to know about, feel free. Tim.
Different subject. What's going on with the horse deal up here in Virginia? Where are they on all their testing and all that business?
Okay, that's a good question.
Not really, but go ahead.
Exactly. Oh, you got to ask that uncomfortable one. They have darted, as of last week, 130 mares. They're going to easily exceed their first year goal, 150. The second year, that number doubles, so it'll be interesting to see, possibly if they can get to 300 mares or not. That time frame turns around the 15th of March, 1st of April, so they'll be on the clock on their second year this coming first part of April. It hasn't been perfect, Tim, but I don't think any of us who signed that agreement ever thought that it was just going to be a magic bullet to the problem. There has been definitely an easier summer last summer in dealing with those horses than in the past. Some of that was environmental. We got a lot of rain up there in that country, and it kept those horses back up in the mountains. Some of it was the fact that we, for once, had enough help, enough volunteers around here that help keeping horses off the roads. We still have some problem areas. Southeast Reno continues to be a problem. Highway 50 where they haven't fenced it. East Lake where they haven't fenced some of that area. We are working with DOT to try and get them to fence those areas. It's been difficult. They did fence one stretch of Highway 50, about 5 miles both sides, which does help, especially right there at Silver Springs. So it's an ongoing issue and a problem. I won't say that the agreement fixed everything, but it did help in some areas. Yeah, and this spring is the time frame when we have to do our own assessment of the entire agreement. And one of the things we're going to be looking at is the efficacy of that product, the PZP that they're actually darting those mares with. They have to provide me descriptions of all those mares that they darted. And me and Chris Miller actually go out there. I doubt we're going to be able to see every horse that they darted, but we're going to look at a large percentage of them. And if they got a colt on the ground, there's limits in that agreement. It says that at least 75% of those mares can't have a colt after they've had that shot. If they do, then we're going to have to readjust the agreement.
When are we going to fly and count again?
Probably early this summer, say June. June is about the best time. Good weather.
So we have to do it every year, right?
No, we don't have to do it every year. It's not part of the agreement.
I thought it was.
No. I just like to do it every year, that's all.
No, I agree. Well, it's a good way to hold accountable.
Maybe we'll get the big airplane. We can take you along this time.
It's a really big airplane.
Mr. Sprowley.
Just to reiterate, what's the funding mechanism for what's being done by staff out there on those horses?
It's alfalfa seed and
I want to know.
Garlic seed.
You got to make sure, because it's going to have to. I can't do it alone, so it's going to be me and Chris. And so you got a mixture of livestock ID money with Chris, and then you got me at general fund. So there you go. It really is just about our time out there too, though. And the horses that they darted this year, I perceive it to be a much larger job in the years to come when they start trying to dart 300, 400, 500 mares. The horses that they've darted this year really are all in South Reno.
And the cooperators are paying for the PZP?
Yes. Yes.
How many of those were stud horses?
None.
Okay.
They only dart the mares. Okay. They don't work on the studs.
Are you sure they know that?
Well, if they darted a stud, that's their problem. So,
you'll find out when you go
out. Yeah. Boy, that got off subject.
We don't have any foals.
Attorney. All right. Oh, Mr. Paris.
Is it appropriate to ask one question?
It's always, unless you're gonna, it's not suitable for adults.
What happened to the BLM branding horses?
Oh.
Ooh.
No, that's fair enough. I can only discuss it so, to a certain extent. It is with the DA. It is an ongoing investigation. I have talked to John Ruse and Alan Shepard, and it wasn't a very good conversation. It was pretty tough. I FOIA requested the BLM provide me all the documents that had to do with the subsequent capture and then re-release of those horses. Those documents haven't got to us yet, but they have a deadline of the 1st of February that they must provide them to us. John Ruse promised me that we could have everything we wanted. There will be prosecution because there is an injured party, and I'm not necessarily talking about Kevin Bourbeau, I'm actually talking about the Burroughs family. So there will be prosecution one way or another.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah.
Tim?
One more question.
Yep.
The rangeland monitoring app deal that you guys are coming out with, where's that at? I mean, is it?
Oh, that's a better question for Robert.
We're looking at April rollout. They're doing the final tweaks on it. Megan's going to be leading that with that range position out west, east. The range position specifically, a big part of what they'll be doing is going out and meeting with producers, showing them how the app works, showing them how the Weeds app works. We're going to actually own the app at the end of the day, but we are going to open the app up to other states, so other states can utilize the app. We have had interest from BLM to utilize that app to do monitoring. The nice thing about that is that data will be ours. We own it and have the, I'm here. We'll have access to it and the whole enchilada.
Sorry about that.
So, and she would be the one to contact on that?
Yep.
Need to find the chairman.
Spank his fingers.
Oh, God. It is in the silent mode, by the way. Any other questions for Flint? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on. We're down to item 10. We have 2 board members that need to be sworn in today.
Jim wants to refer to Las Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, really?
He didn't get his deal signed.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right.
You
One?
this one, you repeat after me.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, David Sticks,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and the Constitution and government of the state of
and
Nevada
the Constitution and government of the state of Nevada
against all enemies, whether domestic or foreign,
against all enemies, whether domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith, allegiance, and loyalty to the same.
and that I will bear true faith, allegiance, and loyalty to the same.
Any ordinance, prohibition, or resolution or law of any state notwithstanding.
Any ordinance, prohibition, resolution, or law of any state notwithstanding.
And that I will well and faithfully perform all the duties of the office.
And that I will well and faithfully perform all the duties of the office of
the board member of the State of Nevada Department, Board of Agriculture.
Member of Board of Agriculture.
On which I am about to enter.
On which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Okay. Yay. All right, now that takes care of that, and we got our annual election of officers, and I'll go ahead and we'll start with the vice chairman. Currently, it's Mr. Anderson. I'll go ahead and open up nominations for vice chairman. Mr. Anderson.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Spratling for the position.
Boyd Spratling for nomination of vice chair.
Second.
It's been seconded. Nominations are still open. Anybody motion to close them?
I make motion to.
Okay. Nominations are closed. And all those in favor of the motion to elect Mr. Spratling as the vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Spratling. I'll go ahead and open up nominations for chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Spratling.
I'll return the favor.
Uh-oh.
I would nominate Paul Anderson for that position.
Mr. Anderson is nominated for chairman.
Second.
Thank you. Any other nominations for chair?
I make a motion to close.
The nominations are closed. We have a nomination only of Mr. Anderson as chairman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Mr. Anderson, you're a new chairman. Congratulations. All right. Thank you guys for the last year. It was a lot of fun, and
thank you.
Did a
good job.
You betcha.
Good job.
Thank you. I remember one piece of advice the day I took it. Remember that, Mr. Snyder? No? Don't talk too much. I don't know if I lived up to that very well. But hey guys, I'll tell you the one thing I always think about, and Alan, and I don't want to harp on this. There were some tough times for Alan. That was a rough, and I think you were 2 terms too, weren't you? Yeah. And but I just want to say that I'm very happy, and I was talking with Mr. Anderson, when you have a staff It's really helpful. And I'm not saying anything about prior staff, please, believe me. But just knowing that we're in good hands, and I think we are. I think everything's going well down here. So, yeah, Mr. Sprouling.
I'd like to inform the entire board, in case not everybody knows, that Dave Sticks is a new Cattlemen's Association president, so that's going to be pretty a full plate right now.
Yeah.
It's a 2-year term. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And, there's nothing going on right now,
Did you
thank
hire a
goodness.
replacement in your business? Did you hire a replacement for yourself in your business?
He's telling people now he only gets me for 1 day a week, and I'm like, well, what am I doing the other 2? So, yeah, there's nothing going on in the Cattlemen, so I got it pretty easy. All right, if there's nothing else, we have a public comment section, so go ahead, we'll kind of open it up too. Did I forget, well, we usually have an open item for board members to talk. We'll just do public input. Go ahead.
I think I better address this, Phil. We just got a decision handed down from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on the trespass case that you all have probably heard about in the news. To put it in context, I think it needs context. So many of the federal lands cases that have gone up, including the recent ones on the horses and others, all are decided on a summary judgment ruling. This case, as well as the takings case, have been decided on a full trial, after a full trial. After the judge in the case saw the witnesses impeached, had full testimony, full airing of the issues, and the same thing in the takings trial where we had actually 7 weeks of trial days. And so we have 2 cases now. The takings case now is back up on appeal to the Fed Circuit. So we have 2 cases in 2 districts of the federal district system, and you can straighten me out on my terminology, by the way, Dennis, going up on appeal, and we have a conflict between the 2 districts. So the likelihood, we're told, of the Supreme Court looking at this is greater. Of course, nothing's for certain in these courts, but all I can say about what the Ninth Circuit did is when we went into that hearing, it was hostile before Mark ever opened his mouth. And then when the Justice Department got up and spoke, it's the same Justice Department Attorney, Elizabeth Ann Peterson, if anybody's had her yet. She stood up, started misrepresenting the facts of the case and the law of the case, and didn't stop until she sat down. And the same thing happened at the Fed Circuit. So I don't know what we're going to do there. We're going to have to address that, I think. But anyway, the long and short of it is the Ninth Circuit is predictable, but this is different because we've had 2 trials in both cases, full airing of the facts. This judge adopted the findings of facts of the other case, and they just totally ignored the findings of the trier of fact in both cases, and they ignored a Fed Circuit ruling to do this. So this is not a summary judgment ruling. This is not a slam dunk. They went so far outside the rules of conduct, I guess you might say, for the judges that it's amazing.
I don't know if anybody saw the press release, but the headlines were that Ninth Circuit slams judge. It's the first time I've ever seen one court talk about another court. But if you read through, there's a specifics. Is there a female justice on the Ninth Circuit that kind of led it?
We had 3 justices.
Yeah.
3 female justices.
Oh, all 3 of them were?
2 Clinton, 1 Obama.
Yeah, one of them was quoted. I'd never seen that before. Where, I know what she was criticizing the judge was the way he talked about the federal employees.
Yeah, and this was after about a month of trial too. I mean, it was, and he talked about himself that way. He said, I'm a federal employee too.
Yeah.
But that's my point. This was after having seen these guys on the witness stand and having seen the conduct. The other point of all that is, I got a press release. Judge Jones now retired to senior status. And I don't know. I mean, they have taken after him in several cases.
Wow.
The article itself said how he was predictably biased against the government or something in the open paper.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And the thing that is this is of course the same bunch that re-prosecuted or re-sentenced the Hammonds. And what I find fascinating is that they basically took the government's brief and made that their ruling. And I find it fascinating that they are so willing to give great deference to public employees of the federal government and their conduct, and never question it, but always question the private sector. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. All right, Ramon.
We're shining our shoes.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope things go well, better on that. Anything else, gang, from the board? All right.
Let me add.
Yeah.
Sorry. This board may want to look at participating in a Miki brief as we go out for the next meeting.
On this item?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically?
Yeah, it affects you guys. This is huge for Nevada. And I think water law in particular. One of the things they said is that water didn't have anything to do with it. Water had everything to do with it.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Just quickly, we got 2 rigs parked out front. If we can run out there and jump in them, you can leave all your stuff in here. We'll secure the door, and we'll run over to the warehouse. It's 2.5 minutes away. We'll do a quick walkthrough, and we'll have you back over here within 30 minutes. Okay?
Can we adjourn, Dennis? Okay, that's okay. Let's go ahead and adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Seconded by Mr. No. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
So you leave our stuff here? What does it mean? First thing is Zona
Was that the one?
No,
it was one shot.
Well, yes, the thing is, there are several formulations of these.
Transfer to